Learn how to create, sustain, and scale up your print-on-demand business with the latest tips, guides, and strategies to help you start selling and making money today. Welcome to the Sales on Demand Show. And here's your host, Adam Schneider.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Sales on Demand Show, episode 33. I have been gone for a long time. I know, I'm sorry. But I had 10 awesome days in the mountains, hanging around with teenagers, backpacking, sleeping overnight outside, hiking, playing games, running around. And then at the very end of that, somebody passed along a delightful gift to me in the form of some kind of virus. And that one floored me for a significantly long time. I had a sore throat. I couldn't even talk. And it gave me an ear infection. So that was kind of a great end of summer gift. Although I'm kind of glad I didn't get it while I was actually out camping, because that would have been very hard to deal with. In any case, it has been over 2 weeks since I've made an episode, and there's a ton of things to talk about. And today, we are going to hit one of them hard as I can anyway. And I'm actually kind of glad I waited on this, because I've been doing some research and calling places and trying to get some action on this, and just kind of came up against a wall, and I got to share with you some of the struggles of doing this and how you can get past them. So if it sounds like I'm kind of getting over a cold, well, I am. Anyway, today I thought we'd hit part 4 of building a real brand. And this is one you don't want to miss this. Managing cash flow for a business. So right now what's happening for me is sales are picking up quite nicely. Definitely seeing the end of summer, the doldrums kind of ended. The Labor Day weekend was a little slow, but I mean, after that, it's basically just an upward trajectory that sort of bumps up and down. You'll probably see some really good days and some sort of average days, but overall, you should see a real noticeable pickup in the number of sales. And if you're creating, 3 or 4 new listings every single day, like you should be, if you don't have a lot of other things going on, you can create more than that, but try to at least do 1 a day, or, if you need to do them all in one day, 7 a week. I'm also working on trying to get enough stock to Amazon for Christmas. And of course, there is always the lag time of when you make the order, pay for it, and when the stock actually gets sent to Amazon, it sells, the money comes around. So generally what I'm trying to do is trying to use the money coming in from previous sales to fund the new stock. And I'm definitely not going to be able to keep up. That is where this managing cash flow problem comes in, because now I'm a big enough seller that I need like thousands and thousands of dollars to keep up with how much is selling. So I thought I would talk about how to do that, how to manage your cash flow, how to get started, how to find some initial money to get going with your sales on your print on demand business, and how to keep things going and pick up the pace when they start to get really busy. So let's start with some trends to watch out for. Christmas things will start selling. You might be thinking, I don't think anybody's shopping for Christmas, but I absolutely assure you that if you start posting Christmas items, people, even if they don't buy it right now, they'll start looking for it and they'll start favoriting it. And you can't really track that on Amazon. You'll see the clicks, but on Etsy, you'll see people favoriting your items, which means that they save it in their little profile and they can go back and buy it later if they want to. Also, Halloween, it's not a huge holiday, but it is something that people will be shopping for. Probably more likely they'll be buying like t-shirts or funny things. I don't really know. I don't do a lot of Halloween items. Mostly been focusing on evergreen stuff, gift stuff that will sell well at Christmas. Back to school is still a thing, so people are still shopping for teachers, for their college student. Definitely mugs and t-shirts are going to be hot items during back to school. And what you want to start doing this week is start adding listings to all of your platforms. Just shoot for 7 a week and maybe 10 a week. So part of this building a brand thing is getting beyond just a hobby business and turning it into a real thing. I'm really concerned with the long-term, sustainability of this kind of thing. I don't want to just build something that's going to last for, a couple of years and then sort of it dies out and then it's like, oh, okay, well, that's the next thing. Because I have spent a lot of my own effort building this and I don't want it to die out. I want to be able to sustain this and keep it going and maybe even sell it someday for a lot of money. So I need to start taking these things seriously, and one way to do that is to make sure my cash flow can sustain the huge bump in sales that I'm going to get over Christmas. So there's two different scenarios that you're going to experience here. And these are very distinct scenarios. They're not very similar to each other. So the first one is that you're a brand new seller making less than $1,000 in sales a month. If you're pretty close to 1,000 sales, but not quite over that, you're still a new seller. So this advice will definitely apply to you. So you're going to see more sales. If you're already making, a couple of sales a week, you will start to see that increase. And you may even breach $1,000 a month pretty quickly here by like October, November. So that is good, but it's not going to last. That's just going to be for Christmas. So $1,000 a month, we're talking about your average monthly sales that are not Christmas time sales. So pretty much any new seller is probably going to reach $1,000 a month over Christmas. And if you don't, then you haven't worked very hard on your business. So get after it. But the best thing that you can do is just go really hard on Etsy because you get daily or weekly payouts. A lot of new sellers, they'll be like, oh, Amazon charges me $40 a month. I can't afford that. And Etsy, how many listings do you get? It's 20 cents per listing. And they're like, man, that can really add up. I get that. I totally understand why you look at those little expenses and see how they're adding up and it's like draining your account. And you're like, well, how many sales do I have to make in order to make that money back? You've got to make a few sales just to break even. Certainly on Amazon, if you're not making about, like 8, I think it's probably 8 sales, maybe 6 in a month. If you're not making 6 sales in a month, you're probably losing a tiny bit of money. But honestly, 6 sales, not that hard to get to, especially for fulfilled by Amazon. And you've got to look at the future. Stop thinking of your business as what it is right now, but start thinking of what it's going to be. A really successful business person always is a visionary. They always look at the future and they say, well, I am here right now, but I'm not going to stay here. And they look at how much they've grown from the last month, the last year, the last 6 months, and they see that as being an upward trajectory. So they're like, well, you know what? I may not be as successful as I want to be right this second, but I'm going to be, 3 times better next year. And that's kind of where I am right now. So I can see that this Christmas is shaping up to be pretty good. I should be able to hit my $100,000 goal, personal goal of sales. It might have to be $100,000 over both November and December, just because of the limitations of my current cash flow situations. I am running short of cash. But you know what? That upward trajectory is still there. I'm still like 4 times ahead of what I was last year, and I did pretty good last year. So being able to quadruple my success every single year is a phenomenal, like that's amazing. I've never seen any other business where you can do that. If you owned a restaurant and you were like, man, my goal this year is to have 4 times the number of sales that I did last. If some restaurant owner told me that, I would suggest to them that they pick a more realistic goal of 5 to 10% more business than they did last year, or in the case of a small town restaurant, why don't you just try and not go out of business in the first year? That's a good goal to start with. So I mean, being able to increase your year-by-year sales by a significant percentage, like more than 100%, that tells you that this is a real business with real opportunity. But that doesn't come automatically. You have to be working on it day by day, week by week, and looking at what's brought you success and what you think will bring you success, and then, making those things happen. So for a new seller, I would say go hard on Etsy because, you get the daily or weekly payouts. You can basically have your money from a sale within like 4 days because there's always a lag time between when they send the money and when it arrives at your bank, which is really weird to me because is this not 2019? When I go to the when I go to the store and I use my debit card, they take the money out instantly. It's like an instantaneous transaction. So I don't understand why it is when you get a payout from like one of these platforms, why it takes like 3 days to get to you. It's not like that money has to actually go somewhere. It's just numbers in an account. So honestly, I think they're just kind of screwing around with us. They're like, yeah, we sent you the money. Totally. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. Anyway, so that's my moaning about technology. But anyway, it's still pretty fast. 3 days from when they send it is usually when I get it. So what you want to do on Etsy is you want to offer customization. And then just prepare to spend a lot of time filling orders. So you want to make designs that say, my papa's name is blah, 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 and he can kick your butt, or just anything that has a personalized name, a personalized spot for like someone's job or their position in the family. It's like granny, grandma. There's so many different names for grandmas and grandpas that it's almost impossible to keep track of them all. I keep getting requests from people that say, can you make this say Poppy? And I'm like, how do you spell that? They're like, oh, Poppi. I'm like, wow, you call him Poppy? Like okay, sure, why not? So I've got like 7 different versions of a grandpa nickname. So there's like Opa, Papa, Poppy, Grandpa, Grampy. There's probably more than 7 if you sit down and think about it. But, be prepared to be sitting at your computer and changing the text in various designs and then manually creating these orders. Alternatively, you can use a company called Print Tech, which offers customization as an automation feature. It's pretty sweet. It does have a monthly fee to it. For Etsy, it's like $10 a month. So pretty much your first sale will cover that. It's pretty sweet. It's not as customizable as, it's not everything is customizable. You have to create customization fields. So basically you're like, okay, this section here is customizable. So basically what they do is the customer will tell you the name in the notes when they make the order, and then Print Tech picks it up, puts it in there, you approve it, it gets shipped to the customer, boom, done. It's pretty sweet. It does save you quite a bit of time. It's not 100% automated because you still have to approve it, but it probably takes 1/10 of the time as it does to manually create the image and then upload it or send it in as a design request or whatever, ordering the product as a customized product. So that's what I would do. Go hard on Etsy. Etsy is going to be pretty busy. And new sellers do get a lot of kind of love on Etsy. You'll get your stuff ranked up there pretty quickly. So also, Etsy has now introduced, what they say they've introduced is that if you have free shipping, you will get higher placement in the search. But there are some people saying that that's not actually true, that they haven't noticed any real decrease in their sales, that they're not offering free shipping. So there's two camps on this. And one of the people who is saying that they don't notice any decrease in sales is somebody who is literally like, if they're not $1 million a year Etsy seller, then they're pretty freaking close to it. And last year, this lady made probably in the range of like $100K in just 30 days, just on Etsy. She was like literally sitting in front of her computer every single hour of the day, which kind of sounds like it sucks. But I mean, sure, if you want to do that, go for it. I'd rather just, come home at the end of the day and spend maybe an hour, half an hour, responding to a few queries from customers instead of literally every single waking hour. And then, I don't know, it sounded like it was a bit of a nightmare for them. But you know what? There's a lot of money to be made if you're willing to sit down and spend a lot of time working on this kind of thing. So, but her opinion of it was that offering free shipping didn't seem to have changed her placement in the search. I don't know. I tend to think that Etsy is in control of its own platform. And if they say that we're not going to rank your product very high in search if you don't offer free shipping, well, I believe them. I have always offered free shipping on every platform. And this just simplifies everything for me because I'm charging $20. You want something, you pay $20. And then my pricing includes the cost of shipping and the product for me. And I'm still making like $8 or $9 off of the sale. So that just simplifies it for me. I do okay on Etsy. I don't spend very much time. I have no customized products on Etsy whatsoever because, again, I don't have a lot of time to spend doing these things. And for me, I don't need to spend that time. I don't want to spend that time. Sitting in front of my computer all day sending out products just sounds like a waste of time to me. Not a waste of time, but it's just extra time that I could be doing something else. And I like, hanging out with my family and, just doing other things besides responding to customers. So, yeah, not my cup of tea, but go for it. There's so much opportunity from people like me who don't want to do that. That's what I would do. Less than $1,000 a month. So if you recall, if you've been listening to the podcast for any length of time, you'll know that I made an episode a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago now, where I talked about 10 business ideas that are not print on demand, 10 ways to make money from home that are not print on demand or related to print on demand. So go and have a listen to that episode because having a little part-time job that you use to finance, building a print-on-demand business is exactly how I did this when I first got going. When I first started doing print-on-demand, I was making no profit. And I didn't make a profit for the first year because I kept reinvesting the money. I was buying stock. I was buying new training, new courses. That was just how I built this. So on the side, I was doing proofreading on Fiverr. So somebody would send me like a 500-word article or something like that, and I'd proofread it, make sure that it was grammatically correct, that all the spelling was correct, that it made sense. And a lot of these people are, their English is a second language, so they want to make sure that they use a native English speaker to confirm that this is good. So that's what I was doing. And I proofread full-length novels and all kinds of things. It was a bit tedious sometimes because I had a couple people send me their PhD theses. And I got to tell you, nothing is more boring than reading someone's thesis where they simply repeat themselves 100 times and somehow stretch it out to 100 pages long. So there was a couple of those that I was like, I hate this. But you know what? They paid me about $300 to do it, so I was like, all right, fine, I'll do this. But I quit doing that as soon as I was able to because it just was so, made my eyes fall out. And I didn't see any need for it once I started finding success without that. The best kind of income that you can have is income that just keeps repeating itself over and over again, what they call passive income. Now, passive income is it doesn't really exist on planet Earth because you always have to do something to earn that money in the beginning. But, I mean, I guess people who earn an inheritance, that's passive income. That's about the only kind of passive income that actually exists. Otherwise, the rest of us, you create something that you sell over and over and over again. So that's what a print-on-demand product is. If it's a really good product, you just keep selling it over and over and over again. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. All of the things that I did when I first started selling print-on-demand, I'm just continuously selling those same products over and over again. There's some products, I looked on Amazon. There is one product that I have sold 12, was it 1,200? No, not 1,200, but something like almost 800 units of this one simple design. And if you saw this design, you'd be like, wow, 800 of those? And I've literally done nothing except keep restocking when it runs out of stock. I just order more. It takes me about 5 minutes to sit down and order 2 boxes, which is 72 units, and send it in. 5 minutes. And then when those 72 start selling out, I'm like, oh, I better send another 2 boxes in. I don't send more than 2 boxes because I don't want all this money tied up. If I send 3 boxes, maybe I'll have lots of stock that'll last a long time, but I don't really want that. I want to be able to order more of another product and send that in and have both of them selling at the same time. So that's what we call turnaround time. Now, I'm kind of getting into my second scenario here. If you are scaling, if you're past $1,000 a month, you're in something like $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month in sales, now you're getting into what we call scaling. You're not really a new seller anymore. You're kind of an experienced seller. And now for you, the goal is to, reach the heights that you could reach, reach that $1 million a year in sales. So that's not something that you can easily just, you can't just write a check and expect your bank to be like, oh yeah, okay, so you're going to make money off this money? Okay, we'll honor that check. No, it doesn't work like that. I could walk into my bank tomorrow and be like, hey, I need $5,000 for this Christmas. I guarantee you I will turn that $5,000 into $10,000. The bank, I've got 3 years of sales history. I can sit down, I could prove it to the person on the other side of the desk, and they still will not lend me the money unless I have some kind of security or collateral that I'm attaching to that. Because, I have learned this recently, that businesses do not get lent money very easily. Like, you can walk out and you can sign a car loan at like 2% and get, a $34,000 car at 2% interest and pay for it over like 10 years. You can do that easily. And lots of people do that, which is stupid beyond words. If you are signing a 10-year loan agreement to buy a car, I'm sorry, that is dumb. That is beyond stupid. Please don't do that. And if you've done that, don't do it again. Man, I cannot tell you how bad a decision that is. I cannot say it in English words. It is beyond stupid to buy a car and pay for it over 10 years. Just don't do it. It's a little bit different if you're buying a house and you're paying for it over 25 years. That's pretty standard. Still, a mortgage isn't an amazing thing, but, after 25 years, the house will still have appreciated in value. But a car does not appreciate. So, yeah, but I'm just trying to make a point that it's so easy to go and get a loan like that. But yet if I walk into a bank and be like, hey, listen, I need to scale my business. I could make $100,000. Can you give me, just a small short-term loan? They'd be like, I don't know. Now, I do have a very unique personal circumstances that actually makes it impossible for me to get credit. And because I trust you guys, people on the internet that I've never met and may never ever meet in my entire life, I somehow trust you. I will tell you some of the details of my personal circumstances so that you will know that even when you're facing very challenging circumstances, you can still find, financing in places or self-finance so that you really know that this is possible, even when you're facing challenging circumstances. So only just very recently, in the last year and a half, my family and I, we were in deep, deep debt, like mad, crazy debt, getting ready to file for bankruptcy almost. And it wasn't because we were, buying a bunch of stuff that we didn't need. It was we had gotten into a home situation. We're trying to live off the grid and ended up borrowing a bunch of money to try and make that work. Wanted to start a farm and do all this stuff. I was very ambitious. I still am, but now I'm ambitious and a little wiser. So that all did not work. Farming is got to be the most non-profitable thing that I can think of. I know there are ways to make it profitable, but for me, it was like, holy smokes, I can't do this. So we sold everything last year, just cashed out of everything, pretty much everything that was, we owned, all the vehicles, all the houses, all the buildings, we just sold the whole lot of it. And in order to get out from some of those debts, we had to consolidate a bunch of them and basically pay it off in a structured payment. So part of the deal is that we're not allowed to accumulate any more debt until all of that debt's paid off. And my credit rating took a steep dive into like, holy crap, don't give this guy any money ever again territory. So I mean, I'm not a deadbeat, but I look at my credit rating, I'm like, yeah, there's no way that I'm going to get anybody to lend me money ever, period. And I don't really want to borrow money. Borrowing money is kind of what we used to do, and now I'm like, you know what? I want to just finance my own way through life. But it does make it hard if you want to scale a business, because I'm looking at a season of the year and I'm like, I guarantee you, if I had another $5,000, I could double that in 30 days. And it's hard to pass that up and know that if I had that money, I could do that. So right now I'm faced with a couple of options. Number one is I can take every bit of cash that I've got. I've got some savings accounts, and I could just dump it into Amazon stock and just work from it that way. It would mean that I wouldn't have any money for an emergency, which I don't really like. I've become accustomed to having, a nice big fat bank account sitting there just sort of available for whatever I need, which is kind of a dangerous thing because, if you have a lot of cash that's readily liquid that you can spend, it means that you're more likely to spend it on stupid things. So I do have a motorcycle. I have a trailer. I didn't spend a lot of money on it, but there are things that I wouldn't have bought a year ago because I would have been like, oh, I can't afford these things. I don't need these things. So, I mean, did I need to buy a trailer? I mean, I only spent $1,200 on it, but looking back at it, I'm like, well, I probably could have used that $1,200 for, Christmas and then maybe bought a trailer next year. So anyway, now I'm faced with the prospect of using all of my savings up and basically having all of my money tied up sitting at Amazon in the form of coffee mugs that are not yet sold, but I know that probably will sell. Now, here's another thing that you can do, and it's something that I've been working on. I'm trying to get access to my money from Amazon a little bit quicker, and there is a way to do this, but only for U.S. residents. So I actually recorded this episode once before, but I didn't have all the information available, so I'm re-recording this episode. There's a company called Payability, and if you have over $2,000 a month in average sales on Amazon, you can actually get basically daily payouts from this company called Payability. Now, here's the catch. You have to give them 2% of that money. So basically, they're advancing you the money that Amazon is going to pay you, but you pay them 2% of the total amount of money. It's not an interest rate because you're not paying it over and over again. You're just paying it once on the money. So you're getting access to your money faster. You got to pay 2% of it. Now, I was looking at that and I was like, well, you know what? That's still worth it, because particularly at Christmas time, if I can, if I do really well in November, and I know I'm going to, I'm probably going to, crack $20,000 in November. If I can get that $20,000 right away, I can buy $20,000 more product and send it to sell in December. I have a supplier and a system set up that I can basically order and have stock delivered to Amazon by, within 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks at the most. It'll probably be 3 weeks, especially during Christmas, because it's, the delivery time will be longer because everybody's getting packages, and it'll just take longer. People will be on vacation and stuff like that. So 3 weeks is still pretty good. It means that I can still take advantage of those last minute sales and just make basically double my money again. One more time, and that's worth something. So I looked at that and I'm like, okay, well, that would be fantastic. 2% is a small price to pay for having access to the money that I can double again. I mean, it really is. It would have been worthwhile to do that. Now, here's the problem, is that Payability does offer a kind of a prepaid credit card that you can use, but it's not available unless you're a U.S. resident. So basically, they would send me my money, and it would be converted back to Canadian dollars, and then I would have to turn around and convert it into U.S. dollars. Now, I'm already facing that prospect in my current business. Right now, I'm just using a Canadian dollar bank account. I'm receiving money that is converted from U.S. dollars to Canadian, and then I make purchases with my Visa debit, which is the only form of credit card number that I have access to right now. And it's converted back to U.S. dollars. And I'm like, I know I'm paying conversion fees on that. I don't know how much that is. Well, it turns out that it's like 6 to 8%. So I'm losing 6 to 8% of my money. And I'm like, man, that is a lot. And on top of that, I would have to pay 2%. So it's close to 10% of my money would be gone before I even look at it. I'm like, you know what? That's just not going to work for me. I can't do that. I just can't do it. And especially if, you sign up for Payability, it's kind of hard to get out of something like that. So I'd end up doing that over and over and over and over again when I really only need it for Christmas time. So I thought, I just can't justify doing that. If I was able to use their little Payability kind of credit card thing, which is not even a credit card, it just has the number, and I could have just received my payments in US dollars, turned around and spent it again on stock, that would have been fan-freaking-tastic. Now, if you are a US seller, you're living in the US right now, and right now my voice is coming to you, and you're sitting inside the great old United States of America, this is an option for you. And if you're making more than $2,000 in sales in a month, and you've averaged that for 3 months, you can sign up for payability, and you can get access to your money basically right away. You can turn around and reinvest that money immediately, and you're only paying 2%, which is actually not too bad. 2%, I mean, a lot of people will fuss over that 2%, but listen, I mean, scaling a business, sometimes you got to make tough decisions. You got to sacrifice a tiny bit of your money or a tiny bit of the profits in order to scale that. And this is the same thing when you hire somebody. You're hiring somebody to do something for you that you otherwise would have done for yourself. But the reason that you hire people is so that you can double your productivity. You know, if I hire a VA, I'm expecting to receive double the productivity out of them that I would be getting if I did the work myself, because it leaves me available to do something else, or it takes some kind of burden off me that I just hate doing. So if you hire somebody to create designs, you're like, listen, I know I'm paying $10 for this design, but I expect to make like $50 off of this, or 100, or 200, or whatever kind of profit that you're looking from a particular design. That's why you sacrifice a little bit now so that you can make more later. So that is an option. Now, that's not the option that I'm going with, but I am still looking for a way to receive payments in US dollars. And I think I've narrowed down a way here. So basically, I can open up a US dollar account with my current bank. And I did this before. I'm not sure why I closed that particular account. I had this going when I was working with Shopify, and I was getting US dollar payments sent to me from Shopify payments. And it was just sitting in my account, and then I would cash out. So I ended up closing that account because I'm pretty sure, I forget, if I was paying a monthly fee or something like that, and I was like, okay, I don't need this account right now. I'm going to close it down. So I probably did that. But now I'm looking at the prospect of doing that again. Now, I need to be able to use those US dollars. And I think there is a couple of options that are available to me. Number one being a wire transfer. I'm pretty sure that most of my suppliers will accept a wire transfer as payment. And then there's the other option of sending that money to PayPal and making the payment from PayPal. So those are kind of my two options, because I really want to eliminate that 6 to 8% of my money that is literally going up in flames from the currency conversion. And I also would like to get all of this activity out of my Canadian dollar bank account and into its own account. So that's kind of where I'm sitting at right now. And I'm just waiting to see. I sent an email to my suppliers and asked them, I'm like, hey, what do you accept for payment types? Like, can I send you a wire transfer? Can I use PayPal? So I know that Custom Happy does take PayPal, so that's a pretty decent option for me. Basically, PayPal allows you to have your money sitting as US dollars, even if you are Canadian. So my PayPal account right now has like 130 US dollars in it. So if I need to make a purchase in US dollars, I don't have to convert it back and forth, which is really annoying and costs you money. So that's just a few of the things that I'm working on right now. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys, for cash flow. There's probably 100 different things that could be done that I didn't think of or I don't know about. Just like yourself, I am still learning these things as I go along here. So, I mean, you may be thinking that, you would love to be where I am, but honestly, I'm looking at some people that are doing like $1 million a year in sales, and I'm like, I want to get there. I want to be there. And then when I'm there, I'll be looking at the guy doing 2 million. I'll be like, oh, how do I get to 2 million? So, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So get out there, start working hard, and let's cash in this Christmas. It's going to be a good year. I don't know, whatever you think about Donald Trump as president of the United States. I think that he's a weirdo, but honestly, The whole economy has been pretty stable. I don't know that it's necessarily to his credit that that's been the case, but it's not a bad thing either. So we're looking at a pretty good Christmas. There's no recession looming on the horizon, so this is a good time to get your business going. All right, guys, that's it for today. We'll talk to you in another week. Cheers.